Good morning. It's Pastor Aaron from Edgemont Church in Bristol, Tennessee. And let's talk this morning again about hope. Today from Psalm 62, David wrote this psalm apparently during a time when he was going through a difficult time, when he was feeling on edge, when he needed hope. And we'll just go through it verse by verse and let's see what the Lord's word teaches us. He sets out for us in verse 1 the theme of the whole psalm, so let's read it. It says, "For God alone, my soul waits in silence. From him comes my salvation. He alone is my rock and my salvation, my fortress. I shall not be greatly shaken." So the theme of this psalm is for us as God's people to recognize that our only hope comes from him, and that we should then quiet our hearts and listen to him. Now, starting here at verse 2, he kind of shows us what part of the problem is, what he's been thinking in his mind that's got him so bothered. Actually, starting at verse 3, it says, "How long will all of you attack a man to batter him? Like a leaning wall, a tottering fence. They only plan to thrust him down from his high position. They take pleasure in falsehood. They bless with their mouths, but inwardly they curse." So that's what David is thinking. That's the problem that's going on. People are spreading falsehoods, spreading rumors, very possibly about him, in order to try to, take him down from his position as king. And we all tend to do that, don't we? We worry about what other people say, about falsehoods that are going around. A lot of times we have our hopes set on things going our way, and when they don't, we worry and we rehearse these things in our minds. Oh, this person said this about me. That person said that about me. Or, if only these people would stop doing this, the world would be a better place. We repeat these lines in our heads, and a lot of it points to the fact that we worry. We worry. And so then starting at verse 5, David comes back to the theme of the psalm. He says, "For God alone, O my soul, wait in silence, for my hope is from him. He only is my rock and my salvation, my fortress. I shall not be shaken. On God rests my salvation and my glory. My mighty rock, my refuge is God." So David is reminding himself that God alone is his hope. And there is something to instruct us. We need to keep that in mind. So often we have our hope set on earthly goals. If our nation gets turned around, then things will be great. We set our hope on things going well here as far as our nation goes. But we fail to see that hope is bigger than that, particularly for the Christian, because our hope is in God alone. Our hope is not in our political rulers. Our hope is not in this nation that we live in. Our hope is in God. God alone can't be shaken. We need to understand that, because any lesser hopes, they are lesser hopes, and they can be shaken. Our nation can be shaken. Financial stability can be shaken. Health can be shaken. Friendships can be shaken. God, the lover of our souls, cannot be shaken. And so David says to himself, "Oh, my soul, wait in silence." See, part of what we have to do, part of what we need to do, is learn to silence the voice of that anxiety that drags up the things that we're worried about, the things that we're concerned about. To silence those things before the knowledge that God loves us and cares for us. You see, we don't have a guarantee that things in this life are going to go well for us. We don't have a guarantee that we won't suffer, that we won't go through difficult times. Matter of fact, the Bible actually promises us that we will this side of glory. But what it does promise us is that God loves us. God is our hope and our refuge. Why? Because he is stronger than any trial we're going through. And at the end of this journey of life, God is waiting for us. Heaven is something that can never be taken from God's people. It's heaven that your heart really longs for, if you think about it. And that's a hope that can't be shaken, because God has secured it by sending his son Jesus for us. Now, let's listen to what else David says. Starting at verse 8, he says, "Trust in him at all times, O people. Pour out your heart before him. God is a refuge for us. Those of low estate are but a breath. Those of high estate are a delusion. In the balances, they go up. They are together lighter than a breath. Put no trust in extortion. Set no vain hopes on robbery. If riches increase, set not your hearts on them. Once God has spoken, twice I have heard this, that power belongs to God, and that you, O Lord, belong steadfast love. For you will render to a man according to his work." So hear this, Christian. David is trying to instruct us. Our other hopes are lesser hopes. You know, financial gain isn't a promise for us, because wealthy or poor, we all face the struggles of this life. And at the end, what will be waiting for you? You need a bigger hope than the hopes of this earthly life. You need a hope that rests in heaven. And friend, that's the message from today's word. Stop and quiet your hearts before God, lay your anxieties before him, and find in Jesus Christ the hope that is not shaken by our trials. Have a great day. Lord bless you all. Bye-bye.